What if the happiest place on Earth was built on scenes they no longer want you to see? Disney's animated legacy is often treated as untouchable, but buried inside. Those classics are moments so controversial they were quietly erased, rewritten, or locked away forever. Tonight we uncover the censored cartoons Disney hopes you never notice, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Number 10. Fantasia, 1940. When Fantasia premiered, it was celebrated as a bold experiment in animation and classical music, but hidden inside its dreamlike beauty was a deeply uncomfortable reality. In the pastoral symphony sequence background, characters known as Sunflower and Otica were designed as exaggerated racial caricatures serving white centaurettes. Their wide eyes, bowed posture, and servile behavior reflected stereotypes common in early 20th century American entertainment. For years, these characters appeared unchallenged in theatrical prints and television broadcasts. But as cultural awareness shifted, Disney faced growing criticism for preserving imagery that reinforced racist assumptions under the guise of fantasy. Rather than openly confronting the issue, the studio chose quiet erasure. Beginning in the late 1960s, the characters were removed entirely through careful cropping and re-editing. What makes this censorship significant is not just what was removed, but how it was handled. There was no public acknowledgement, no historical context, and no explanation offered to audiences. The edit attempted to rewrite history rather than preserve it honestly. Modern versions of Fantasia now exist as a sanitized artifact presenting a vision of artistic purity that never truly existed. This moment stands as one of Disney's earliest examples of retroactive censorship. Instead of using the film as a teaching tool about outdated attitudes, the studio opted for disappearance. Fantasia remains a masterpiece, but its missing figures tell a silent story about the limits of corporate accountability. Number 9. Steamboat Willie, 1928. Steamboat. Willie introduced Mickey Mouse to the world and became the cornerstone of Disney's empire. Yet early versions of this iconic short contained gags that later generations found unsettling. One sequence showed Mickey abusing animals, turning a pig into a musical instrument in a way played for laughs but rooted in cruelty. By the 1950s, as Disney rebranded itself as a family-friendly powerhouse, these scenes became a liability. Television edits quietly removed or shortened the most aggressive moments. The original theatrical cut was replaced with softened versions that aligned with Disney's evolving public image. The censorship here reveals a pattern. Disney rarely disowns its past directly. Instead, it reshapes it. Steamboat Willie is now framed as innocent, playful, and timeless, but that image only exists because earlier versions were altered. What audiences see today is not the original creation, but a revised artifact designed to protect a brand rather than preserve history. This quiet revisionism raises uncomfortable questions. If even Mickey Mouse required sanitizing, what else has been rewritten? Steamboat Willie survives as a symbol, but its rough edges were filed away to maintain the illusion of perpetual wholesomeness. Number 8. Alice Solves the Puzzle, 1925. Before Mickey Mouse, Disney experimented with live-action animation hybrids in the Alice comedies. Alice Solves the Puzzle included a scene that nearly vanished from American prints. The villain Pete was shown handling bootleg alcohol during Prohibition, a reference that drew the attention of government censors. To avoid trouble, Disney cut the scene domestically while allowing foreign prints to circulate uncensored. As a result, for decades, American audiences never saw the complete cartoon. The moment survived only in international archives and private collections. This early act of censorship highlights how external pressure shaped Disney's content from the very beginning. The studio learned early that controversy threatened distribution and profits. Cutting the scene was easier than defending artistic intent. What remains today is a fragmented historical record. Early Disney animation was not as innocent as its reputation suggests. The erased whiskey bottle tells a larger story about conformity censorship and the shaping of a corporate image long before Disney became a global empire. Number 7. Lilo and Stitch, 2002. When Lilo and Stitch was nearing release, Disney faced a problem no one expected. A simple visual gag suddenly became a safety concern. In the original version, Lilo hides from social workers by climbing inside a household dryer. It was meant to be absurd and cartoonish, but executives realized children might imitate it. Rather than risk controversy, Disney ordered a last-minute animation overhaul. The dryer was digitally transformed into a pizza box, and the scene was reanimated entirely. This was not a cut made for culture or politics, but for liability and fear of public backlash. What makes this censorship unusual is its invisibility. Most viewers never knew a change occurred. The edit was seamless. No explanation was given. The original version was quietly buried and replaced across all future releases. This moment reflects a modern form of Disney censorship. It is not about erasing offensive ideas, but about preemptively controlling audience behavior. The studio decided that imagination itself needed limits. In doing so, it demonstrated how far Disney will go to maintain its image as a perfectly safe environment, even if it means rewriting finished films. Number 6. Aladdin, 1992. Few Disney songs are as famous as Arabian Nights, yet its original lyrics sparked immediate backlash. The opening verse described a land where they cut off your ear if they do not like your face. Though meant as playful exaggeration, critics argued it painted Middle Eastern culture as barbaric and violent. Facing public pressure, Disney altered the lyrics for all home video and broadcast versions. The melody remained, but the meaning was softened. Violence was replaced with vague danger. The original line was erased from mainstream circulation. This change reveals Disney's selective memory. Rather than contextualizing the lyric or acknowledging its origins, the company opted for revision. The song now exists in a revised form that pretends controversy never happened. Aladdin remains beloved, but its opening moments are no longer what audiences first heard in theaters. This censorship did not just remove words. It reshaped how an entire culture was introduced to millions of children. Disney chose comfort over conversation and silence over accountability. Number 5. Spare the Rod, 1954. Donald Duck has always been one of Disney's most volatile characters, but Spare the Rod crossed a line television networks were unwilling to air. The short included caricatured depictions of indigenous cannibals portrayed with exaggerated features and primitive behavior designed for laughs. As social standards shifted, these scenes became indefensible. Rather than retire the cartoon entirely, Disney removed the offensive imagery for television broadcasts. In some cases, the short was pulled completely from rotation. Unlike earlier edits, this censorship acknowledged that certain material could not be justified, even by historical context. Yet, once again, Disney avoided public discussion. The edits were quiet. The cartoon faded into obscurity without explanation. This pattern is familiar. When confronted with uncomfortable truths, Disney does not confront them head-on. It erases them. Spare the Rod survives as a warning buried in archives, a reminder that even iconic characters were once vehicles for stereotypes the studio now prefers to forget. Number 4. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. When Who Framed Roger Rabbit arrived, it pushed the boundaries of what Disney animation was willing to show. Adult humor, sexual innuendo, and visual gags flew past audiences at breakneck speed. But as the film moved into home video and television circulation, certain moments became too risky for Disney's carefully managed family image. A brief shot revealing Jessica Rabbit's undergarments was altered through digital editing. Baby Herman's obscene hand gesture was removed entirely. These changes were not announced. They were quietly folded into later releases without acknowledgement. Most viewers never realized the film had been altered. What makes this censorship especially revealing is that Roger Rabbit was originally marketed as an exception to Disney's rules. It was edgy by design. Yet once it proved valuable as a legacy title, Disney moved to soften it retroactively. The film now exists in multiple versions, each reflecting different thresholds of corporate comfort. What was once celebrated as boundary-breaking animation has been slowly domesticated. The edits demonstrate that even success does not protect a film from revision once it becomes part of Disney's long-term brand strategy. Number 3. The Little Mermaid, 1989. When The Little Mermaid helped launch the Disney Renaissance, it was celebrated for reviving feature animation. But one background detail quickly became infamous. On the original theatrical poster, a golden spire in King Triton's palace bore an unmistakable resemblance to male anatomy. Whether intentional or accidental, the image sparked immediate controversy. Disney responded swiftly. The artwork was altered for home video releases, merchandising, and future promotional materials. The original poster quietly vanished, replaced with a redesigned version that removed the suggestive shape entirely. This incident marked a turning point. Disney realized that even background art could become a public relations risk. The studio did not issue an explanation or apology. It simply replaced the image and moved on. What makes this moment significant is how small the change was and how aggressive the response became. A single architectural detail triggered a full recall and redesign effort. It revealed Disney's growing fear of subtext and its willingness to erase visual history to maintain absolute control over interpretation. Today, the original poster exists mostly as scanned artifacts online, proof that even accidental imagery has no place in Disney's carefully regulated myth-making machine. Number 2. The Rescuers, 1977. In The Rescuers, a blink and you miss it moment caused one of Disney's most unusual censorship efforts. During a flight sequence, two background frames briefly reveal a topless woman photographed through a window. The image appears for less than a second, but was unmistakable when paused on home video. The discovery caused immediate alarm. Disney halted distribution, recalled thousands of VHS tapes, and reissued the film with the frames digitally removed. It was one of the few times the company openly acknowledged an edit, though it avoided explaining how the image made it into the film. The studio framed the incident as a production prank, but the response was severe. The original uncensored tapes were pulled from circulation, becoming rare collector's items almost overnight. This censorship was not about outdated values or cultural shifts. It was about control. Disney could not allow the idea that adult imagery slipped through its animation pipeline. The correction was fast, decisive, and absolute. The incident shattered the illusion of total oversight and proved that even Disney's most polished classics contained secrets they would rather erase than explain. Number 1. Song of the South, 1946. No Disney title has been erased more thoroughly than Song of the South. Unlike other censored moments, this film was not trimmed, re-edited, or softened. It was removed, locked away, quietly treated as if it never existed. Blending live action with animation, the film introduced Uncle Remus and the animated Brer Rabbit segments that would later inspire theme park attractions and merchandise. But the framing of Black life in the post-Civil War South was deeply romanticized, portraying plantation life as gentle content and harmonious. As cultural awareness grew, the film became indefensible. Rather than confront its legacy, Disney chose disappearance. Song of the South has never received an official home video release in the United States. It is absent from Disney+. It is excluded from retrospectives, documentaries, and anniversary celebrations. Yet its animated characters were selectively preserved, stripped of context, and rebranded as harmless folklore. This is not censorship through editing. It is erasure through silence. Disney did not revise the film. It buried it. By doing so, the studio avoided accountability while continuing to profit indirectly from its most controversial creation. Song of the South stands as the clearest example of how Disney handles its darkest material. When revision is not enough, history itself is denied. Disney built its legacy on magic nostalgia and memory. But behind that carefully curated image lies a history of edits, deletions, and disappearances. These censored moments remind us that animation is not timeless. It is shaped by fear, profit, and power. And what gets erased often matters most.